Good morning, everyone who is in the US right now, and good afternoon for those of you in Europe, particularly in Ukraine, and welcome. My name is Daria Melling, and I am project coordinator at the Berlin-based think tank Center for Liberal Modernity, also known as LibMod. Thank you all for joining us today for the discussion with executives from the key Ukrainian energy companies who will discuss their ongoing work and efforts to rebuild damaged or destroyed infrastructure, preparations for winter, and long-term plans for Ukraine's energy future. Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Russia has been deliberately targeting Ukraine's energy infrastructure with the aim to leave Ukrainians without electricity, heat, and water, and obviously break their spirit in this war of aggression. Despite the dramatic situation, Ukraine doesn't give up and puts a lot of efforts, but to supply energy to the critical infrastructure, households, and businesses. At this note, we would like to start our event, and if you have questions to our speakers, please ask them using the Q&A feature in Zoom. You can find it below. When you write your question, please include your name and affiliation. We'll be monitoring the Q&A throughout the event, and we'll move to your questions following our speakers' remarks. At this note, I would like to begin by introducing our speakers before giving them the opportunity to deliver some remarks, and then return to the questions. So our first speaker is Alexei Chernyshov, who is the chairman of the board and CEO of Naftogaz Group of Ukraine. Naftogaz is a state-owned company, and it is also the largest national oil and gas company of Ukraine. We are also joined by Dmytro Sakharuk, who is the head of DTEX Group Trading Business, D-Trading. And our final speaker is Artem Nekrasov, the acting director of Ukrainian State Enterprise Guaranteed Buyer, that is representing the renewable energy sector. I also would like to note that Mr. Chernyshov unfortunately has to leave us after 30 minutes. So that's why we're gonna change our plan a little bit. And after the initial remarks, I would like to ask some questions, would like to ask Mr. Chernyshov some questions, and you can also write your questions in the Q&A session. So, Mr. Chernyshov, the floor is yours.
Thank you very, very much. First of all, I'd like to thank organizers and Daria, you for letting this event happen. It is very important to bring attention to such an important topic that we are discussing today. You're right. Naftogaz, which I represent being the CEO, Naftogaz is the biggest Ukrainian state-owned enterprise, which does mostly everything in upstream, midstream, and downstream businesses in oil and gas, producing, transporting, transiting, storing, refining, and delivering, and retailing, obviously, and trading. We understand quite a wide range of risks and impacts of the war that we are now facing. It is obvious that the war in Ukraine continues, and energy system is under continuous attack of missiles, drones, and other type of weapons, including artillery, shelling, and many more. This all brings the upcoming heating season to be considered as the most risky and the most complex and hard for our country to pass. When I say the next heating season, I obviously mean next 6 months of our life. It's rather hard to imagine a country. Imagine yourself walking on the street early morning with the freezing temperatures and obviously with the risk not to have electricity, centralized heating, supplies of utilities, and the limited services for the citizens. This might be a reality, at least in certain regions in Ukraine this winter. And somewhere, especially in the adjacent and frontline villages, communities, it is already like that. And our joint task is to actually tackle those risks and avoid the situation for this winter. And using this opportunity, I would like to thank, first of all, our international partners for incredible support of this country in order to confront to those risks over the last almost 3 years. And this winter is so decisive. And number two, I would like to draw your attention and to thank our energy personnel in every company, whether it is privately owned, as we have also here on our webinar, or it is state-owned, it doesn't really matter. These people are heroes and they actually risk their lives. And this is a practical and direct meaning. They risk their lives and health every day, actually bringing back energy and services to ordinary people of this country. We consider them to be the energy front warriors. Coming back to the main topic, we also suffer infrastructure damages, and a significant volume of Ukrainian energy infrastructure has been significantly targeted and suffered. It includes power plants, thermal plants, gas distribution, gas pipelines, production sites. And our task is to be as much prepared as we can for the next winter. And this preparation mainly lies in the two main areas. Area number one is preparation of the equipment and repairings and bringing the equipment back to operation of those that are significantly damaged. And second projection, which we cannot actually go ahead without, is the enhancement of our air defense. Air defense is absolutely vital to next winter, and the enhancement of the air defense will bring more probability for the next winter to be more solid and stable and to bring Ukrainian citizens electricity and heating supply. It is obviously has a limited sense and meaning to repair some of the objects without understanding that they are actually protected by sufficient air defense. And I think all the country is united and the leadership is doing everything that is possible to bring as much air defense to this country as it is available. And of course, we thank you to our international partners. Thank to our international partners. Obviously, we all understand that the air defense capabilities are limited now around the globe. So the conflicts are actually increasing in other regions as well. In any case, if we look forward, we should understand that the Russian Federation is constantly using energy as a weapon. They weaponized energy, and this term appeared to be quite clear to Ukrainians through those years. And understanding that, we decided to fight and to survive. In this situation, we had to increase our energy production capabilities, and that was our main concentration from the first day of the war in Naftogaz Group. So we are increasing oil and gas production every year, and by the fact, we have achieved energy sufficiency in gas, or let's call it energy independence in natural gas. So we produce as much gas as we consume. This means, at least within this parameter, Ukraine is energy independent state, which is so important in coming situation. And we all understand the future of our country might have a role in representing a better and more efficient energy system and proposing to our European partners quite a significant energy hub capabilities. Ukraine has enormous resources and reserves of natural gas. We have significant resources and reserves of oil. We produce quite a significant volume of energy, and we are capable of doing more. We own the most powerful European gas transportation system, which can deliver gas to European Union, and we own the biggest European storages of natural gas, underground storages. This all makes Ukraine a very significant regional player on the European level that might bring stability to the energy market and it might close the energy issues of European Union in the future years to come. But of course, to start this role, we should finalize this war. We should win this war. We should have the stable peace and start active, continue active integration into the European Union community. Thank you again for your support. We really appreciate you bringing this topic up. We value your viewers, and I hope this information might be valuable for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chernyshov. I also encourage our audience to write down your questions in the Q&A feature, and then I can ask them. Right now, I mention again that those are questions directed, first of all, to Mr. Chernyshov, who has to leave a little bit early. But before we're expecting questions and giving the word further to Mr. Zakharuk, I would like to ask you, maybe it's a historical question. What Ukraine inherited from its Soviet time was Soviet legacy was a gas dependence on Russia. Can you say that that Ukraine has overcome this dependency and that we won't have it ever again in the future? And if so, how have you succeeded? Thank you.
So I guess
thanks for your question. I understand this question to me, Daria, or to Dmytro?
Yes, exactly. Yes. As I said, we had to reschedule it a little bit because
I will
unfortunately.
to answer
Thanks.
fast. First
Thank
of all,
you.
thank you for composing this question and formulating this question in that manner. There are two parts, the heritage and the dependence. First of all, I would reformulate the word inherited from the Soviet Union. Ukraine has played a significant role and had a significant stake in actually setting up and developing all those assets that Ukraine owns and operates. So we will not treat those assets to be inherited, but rather those that were created by Ukraine within the former historical and political environment where we had our historical chance to be from dependencies. It is also a fact that Russian Federation has created a direct dependence of the states and the neighboring states, especially Ukraine, with natural gas and oil. But in order to be more precise, I would like to remind, and maybe for some viewers it would be quite unexpected information, but you will be surprised that, as I have said, Ukraine does own a quite significant, enormous reserves of resources of natural gas. They are the third in Europe after Norway and United Kingdom. To be open, I would like to remind you that in 1960s and 1970s, Ukraine has not only satisfied itself with natural gas, but also transported its natural gas to uh, Moscow and Minsk, to Russia and Belarus. So Ukraine has been a provider, a net contributor of natural gas in 1960s, 1970s. So we produce 6 times more than we produce now, meaning like 50, 60 years ago. And obviously, especially after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia has used natural gas produced in the Western Siberia as a manipulation and instrument and dependence and creating dependence to Ukraine, actually politicizing these supplies with quite special ways of those supplies. And obviously, we all understood that cheap gas comes at a price. And for Ukraine, this price appeared to be the price of independence, price of the political stability, and in the end, the risk of war. So that is what we are facing right now. That is why our immediate reaction on that was to return to self-sufficiency of gas production, and we obviously target to become a net contributor of gas, of natural gas, to the European Union countries. Together, we increase our production year by year, and that is not only about state-owned segment, which I represent. We produce 85% of overall production in Ukraine, but also a big credit to our private producers. And I really welcome the presence of Dmytro Sakharuk today on this panel, and their company is the biggest private producer of natural gas in this country, and we welcome their production to increase. This will all bring Ukrainian independence in energy as high as it possible, and this situation might not repeat again. So no dependencies in the future. Dependency is a very bad habit. We should not continue that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have also one question directed to you, but also maybe Mr. Sakharuk can answer it a little bit later. Kate Winston asks whether there are any US policies that would help Ukraine become a European gas hub. And this question actually has two parts. Would a change in US sanction policy help?
Yeah, thank you for that question. By the way, last week I have had a chance to have a personal interview with the person called Daniel Yergin, who is the author of a very popular book, a new map of the world, which describes the energy dependencies and the energy development around the globe, and the role of the big countries actually challenging and promoting supplies in different regions. So obviously those policies are very important. And first of all, we should concentrate on the reforms agenda in Ukraine, making Ukraine more efficient. And I think Ukraine can become a net contributor of natural gas quite immediately after realizing a liberalized market of energy and natural gas in Ukraine, number one. And number two, actually concentrating on more energy efficiency measures and to save energy in Ukraine itself. It's not a secret that Ukraine is not the most energy efficiency country, and maybe the least energy efficient country in Europe currently. So we have a great potential to be developed in the reform sector, in the policies inside, and within the energy efficiency measures. And obviously, the US policies might be deployed and used for continuation of Nord Stream sanctions for the next years to come. And that is also one of the areas that we can concentrate on.
Okay, jumping directly on your answer, there is another question. When do you expect Ukraine will be self-sufficient in gas production? I mean, you also already said that Ukraine is self-sufficient right now, so maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit.
Yes, right now we are, I would say, almost or absolutely self-sufficient in gas production. It can be explained by two factors. Factor number one, the consumption itself has been decreasing due to the less population and less industrial consumption in Ukraine due to the war. On the second reason, we have increased gas production, and we will continue doing that. We have avoided imports last winter, and we are not planning imports this winter season. It is very important for us because we can use this money to develop Ukrainian economy and support our army and our defense potential. When we will become a net contributor to other countries and exporter, I think it's quite conditional to two factors. First of all, to three factors. Factor number one, end of the war. Factor number two, continuation of gas production that we will do. And factor number three, liberalized market of gas in Ukraine. That would drop down consumption, obviously, and on top of it will develop energy efficiency. So Ukraine as itself will consume less natural gas and will become more energy efficient. And that would free up significant volume of gas for the export potential, as well as make Ukraine consume less energy. So I would say that once those three factors are developed, it can be done in a couple of years. After the end of the war, we can become a net contributor.
Wonderful, thank you so much. There is another question from, that has just disappeared from the Q&A feature, but yeah, I can remember it by heart because it was the same author. Yes, you said, oh, thank you so much. Our wonderful technical assistant helped me. That you want Ukraine's transport network to help Europe in the future. And it's extremely interesting question, but how will this happen if Europe wants to end its own dependency on Russian gas? And won't Ukraine's gas network become redundant?
I love those disappearing questions.
They are here now again.
Repeating questions. So actually, Ukrainian gas transportation system, as I have said, is a very important and strategic infrastructural element of Ukrainian state. And it is important that it is continued its existence and development and hopefully operation. On the side of the European consumption of Russian gas, I think it's very clear European Union has made its decision to actually stop natural gas consumption from Russia, and they have identified certain time. This time is about to be over in a couple of years, and as we see, most of the European countries have done significant measures of refraining of the usage of Russian gas and rerouting supplies with alternative ways. We do still have, and we do witness some Central and Eastern European countries mainly that are historically more dependent from Russian supplies, and we definitely should work with them more closely. Also understanding their economic model, their political risks, and their current contractual obligations. So when I was asked during this last 2 years, why Naftogaz is still committed to continue gas transit from Russia to Europe. Obviously, the only reason we've been doing that is to support our European partners for their energy efficiency and their energy, I would say, security that they've been facing, especially for the last winters where the prices were very high.
One last question, and because I know you need to run, what proportion of oil and gas reserves are in Ukraine territory currently occupied by Russia, or which it is Russia is trying to invade in eastern Ukraine or in the Black Sea?
Yeah, thank you so much. I will try to answer very fast. I should run to Cabinet of Ministers for a very important event. So the most reserves that we do have in Ukraine for natural gas is actually on the eastern part of Ukraine, in Poltava and Kharkiv region, in between two main rivers, Dnipro and Donets. So Dnipro-Donetsk basin, DDB, and obviously this is the controlled territory by Ukraine, and for sure it will remain controlled. We still have some under occupation in Donetsk region, and our company has lost control on some of our production sites over there, as well as we do a significant potential and production development history in the Crimean area, including offshore production. So for that, with Crimean case, we have actually within the last, I would say, it took us 8 years to sue Russian Federation for compensation, and the decision of Hague Tribunal last year for Russia to compensate Naftogaz $5 billion for the assets that were lost by Naftogaz in Crimea. Of course, it would be rather hard to monetize this award, but we are actively working on that in different legal fronts, including United States, and hopefully it will work out. Our oil deposits, mostly they're also on the northeast and east of Ukraine, and that is obviously a potentially vulnerable territories. And our western deposits of oil and gas are also sufficient, but they cannot be compared to the eastern side. So this means we should be very active and consistent on our front line, because it definitely and directly influence our future energy development. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chernyshov, and thank you that you still have found time. And yeah, have a nice afternoon.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I apologize for this change of plans, but right now, without further delay, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Sakharov, who is CEO at D Trading.
So thank you very much, Daria, for organizing this event and having me there. So basically, I guess the main message that I'm going to tell regarding the coming winter, the preparation for the coming winter, that all energy companies are preparing right now, doing everything possible to be ready before the cold season starts. Usually it starts in the middle of October, but this year, I guess, like last year, we will start later, closer to the beginning of November. Speaking about some specifics, taking as an example, our company, we work in many value parts of energy sector. So we are in mining of coal and gas. We are in the generation of electricity from thermal generation and from renewables, and in distribution of energy in the regional level and the supply side. Speaking about fuel, we do continue investing into production of coal, which is necessary for the coming through the winter. This year, we are going to produce 16 million tons of coal. That will be enough for supply fuel for all thermal plants in Ukraine for the heating season. We don't expect any problems with that, and we invested more than 8 million euros already, billion hryvnia, sorry, already for that segment of our business. Gas was mentioned by Mr. Chernyshov. Yes, we are the biggest private producer. We do produce 1.5 billion cubic meters. We continue investing to that business, and we do drill new wells, and we're going to do this next year. Again, the investment size, the capex is pretty high, 120 million euros this year, and the same next year. That is enough to keep the production profile high, and we do play a very important role in producing the storage of the stock of gas for the coming winter. Speaking about the thermal generation, that is a big issue because of the Russian attacks that took place from the March till July this year. 90% of all installed capacity of our plants were damaged or destroyed. We do plan to restore and bring back online 60-70% of the capacity that we had before the attacks. I will remind you that there were more than 800 attacks already on our facilities, generation facilities, from the beginning of the war. There were 7 big attacks during from the March till July. And again, all our plants, and 5 of them were damaged. Their roofs, walls, generation equipment, turbines, boilers, transformers, a lot of equipment on the switch yards. So pretty significant damages, and our expenses for this year to bring back those 60% that I mentioned, composed on the level of 110 million dollars, is again a pretty big amount that we invest in order to be better prepared for the winter. Speaking about the distribution grid, which is again a very important part of the preparation, here approximately 5 billion hryvnia is in our the capex investment program. We do change transformers, we build transformer substations, change wires, and automation, just to make sure that the distribution grid works properly during the winter. So I'm just telling this to highlight that we will be ready, thanks to the heroic work of our employees, especially those who repair grid at the regions close to the front line. As you know, all adjustment regions like Donetsk region, Dnipropetrovsk region, Odessa region, and we work in those regions, as well as Chernigov, Sumy, Kharkiv, Kherson, and the constant attacks in our region, for example, in Donetsk, which is the most damaged region. More than 50 crews work every day to bring back light to people's houses, and it's heroic work because they wear helmets, vests, and fortunately, we have some people killed already and injured when they perform their working duties. If we take the thermal power plant, the stations the same, because people stay on the control rooms to control the operations during the air alerts, even under the attacks. Unfortunately, it's not possible to leave in order to run the plant. And again, there are people killed and injured because of the missiles attacks. But despite this, we do believe that Ukraine has everything now to thanks to the activity of all participants, have all chances to go through the winter without significant rolling blackouts in Ukraine. Of course, a lot depends on air defense, because one thing to restore the equipment, another thing is to protect. And here, of course, Ukraine needs as much as possible advanced air defense systems, because what Russians do, they send a lot of they organize the combined attacks using the missiles, drones, ballistic missiles that require a pretty advanced system to intercept, because the usual air defense system could not intercept ballistic missiles because of their speed. Only Patriot, IRST, or NASAMS are needed to capable to intercept. That's why we do believe that air defense forces will be able to protect critical, crucial facilities. And thanks to our job and job of Ukrainian army, we will be able to go through that winter without major problems. At least we will be ready. That is for sure. That I can confirm. The company that is working in many areas of energy infrastructure and in the energy sector.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sakharuk. So before we move to Artem Nekrasov, I would still like to ask you one question. Actually, you mentioned it already, but I really want you to elaborate on it so we can have a more detailed picture of the consequences and actually the seriousness of the Russian attacks on energy infrastructure. So can you elaborate a little bit on the protection and how the protection of the power facilities can be enhanced, and maybe how can our Western partners support Ukraine in that matter?
Yeah, I guess because of the security reasons, I may cover only this topic in very general terms. So definitely, we do protect the equipment that we may protect in terms of physical point of view, just big bags, concrete blocks, and other physical protection. However, we should understand that speaking about thermal plants, which is by themselves are very big structures, because we have machinery buildings which are 50 meters high, up to 1 kilometer long. It's impossible to build any shelters above such big structures. It's impossible to use any other protective walls, whatever it may be, because it's very expensive, and it's impossible, because you need a very big structures above the buildings of the plants. So it's impossible. The only possible way to protect the thermal plants is to have nearby the air defense systems that will intercept incoming missiles and drones. And this is basically the only way how it can be effectively done. And Ukraine, yes, getting more and more defense systems. That is thanks to support of foreign partners, and it's very important, very crucial, and we do appreciate this help very much, because without this help, the situation could be much worse. In addition to existence of the air defense, another thing is important is munition to them, because in the spring, because of the problems with the supply of munition, there was a situation when Russian managed to damage many facilities just because of inability to intercept incoming drones, missiles, due to lack of sufficient stock of munition. And this is another very important topic here, because without proper stock, that would be again a big problem. Even if we have the systems in place, but lack of missiles for this defense may lead to the same damage that took place in March, April, May. So that's why I think that at this point of view, the main efforts of international partners should be in strengthening the defense capabilities of Ukraine, and that will be the crucial component or enabler for the protecting the repaired power plants, substations, and other crucial facilities.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sakharuk. So yes, must be obvious actually for all of us that the best repair measures are those that don't have to take place at all. Yeah, so protection is the best way to preserve energy infrastructure. At this moment, I would like to give the floor to Artem Nekrasov, who is CEO of Guaranteed Buyer, representing the renewable energy sector of Ukraine. Mr. Nekrasov, the floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for paying attention to Ukraine's energy during this turbulent time. I represented the renewable power sector. Our company, Guaranteed Buyer, is the largest renewable power trader in Ukraine. We have the largest balancing group with more than 1,300 power producing facilities from sun, wind, biomass, and biogas, and small hydroelectric power plants. Today, we are going to talk about current situation in Ukraine's energy sector, which, to be honest, is in a very complicated condition, and about the future of Ukraine's energy sector, which is also challenging. Considering our company's business, I will talk about the renewables in the context of the country's overall energy independence. Our type of generation is more distributed across the country compared to the conventional one. The power system consisting of a huge number of these small and medium-sized facilities is harder to be damaged by missiles or other attacks. However, we still lost a large share of solar and especially wind power plants, which were mostly located on the Azov Sea coast due to the temporary occupation. Before the war, renewables were responsible for about 8% of electricity produced in Ukraine. By the middle of this year, this share increased to 18%. Sure, this did not happen by choice, but because other types of electricity generation were damaged or destroyed by Russians to a much higher degree, or ended up on the temporarily occupied territory. So after 2 years of war, and even more so after massive missile attacks at the beginning of the year, when 9 gigawatts of traditional generation were destroyed and damaged, Ukraine's power grid system operator, Ukrenergo, sees that we need almost 10 gigawatt of new wind and solar power generation capacity within the next 10 years. And to balance this, the power system will need 1.5 gigawatt of gas peakers and 1 gigawatt of energy storage. The recently adopted National Energy and Climate Plan stipulates renewables should cover 27% gross final consumption by 2030. Here is what we are doing now and what we will do in the future to achieve these goals. We have divided the goals into 5 areas. For starters, covering household electricity demand with renewables. Second, the same regarding social infrastructure, schools, hospitals, water utilities, etc. Three, creating additional opportunities for business to launch renewables more quickly and simply. For further harmonization of Ukrainian legislation with the European, considering the EU integration track. And fifth, creation favorable condition for investors. This is a long-term goal. So for households, a new law on green transformation was adopted together with other legislation. Among other, all these provide additional tax and customs benefits when importing necessary equipment. Interest on bank loans for households who want to install solar panels and energy storage system is partially compensated by state. All this helps with expanded households role in distributed renewable power sector. About social infrastructure. This year, many projects have been launched to install solar power plants at social infrastructure facilities. For example, in 2023-24, solar panels will be installed at 270 medical facilities in more than 190 settlements, providing medical services to 2 million Ukrainians annually. And about a quarter of these healthcare facilities will be equipped with energy storage facilities along with the PV system. We still have a lot to do to support investors in new business projects in the renewables and on the way of our European integration. We are constantly moving in this direction. And in order to achieve this goal, I mean maximizing the share of green energy in the energy mix, Ukraine would greatly benefit from a change in the European Union's approach to accept guarantees of origin for renewable power produced in Ukraine. So we are working no matter what. And we could not do this and achieve our goals during the war without support of our Western partners. Therefore, I would like to thank the people of Germany, Denmark, the Netherlands, Sweden, and of course the American people and their government for the assistance they provide us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nekrasov. Thank you for your input statement. Just before we open the floor to further questions, we have collected already a few. I would like to ask you some more questions of a more like general character. So you said that due to many generation facilities in Ukraine that have been damaged or destroyed completely, and Ukraine plans to replace them with new generation, more sustainable generation from renewable sources. But you obviously need electricity this winter already, and you're in dire need. Ukraine is in dire need of electricity. How quickly can you build new generation facilities from renewable sources? You mentioned 10 gigawatts of wind and solar, but if correct me if I'm wrong, during the next 10 years, but you also need balancing capacities. So what is the speed? How fast can you build?
Thank you for your question. We understand that building new capacities needs time and investments. And this, by turn, will depend on when the active phase of war ends at first. On terms of loans or guarantees, and on possibility of risk insurance. But we need new capacities as soon as possible. And if we compare investment costs and construction time for conventional generating facilities, these are much bigger than for renewable energy projects. Renewables are the fastest and the cheapest to put into operation. Some market operators in our country attract aid of international financial institutions. For example, the tech is working on new projects with the help of Danish export credit agency. That's all.
Thank you so much. Just before maybe Mr. Sakir can also elaborate on that, just one short question. If we look into the future, which might be hard right now, considering this critical situation Ukraine is at the moment, what is the role of renewable in a post-war restoration of Ukraine's energy system? Just very briefly.
So definitely that renewables will substitute a lot of existing generation assets in Ukraine, as in Europe. Renewables definitely will need, in order to build more renewables, we'll need balancing capacities like batteries. Otherwise, it will be impossible to build both. In order to develop this market further, first of all, we need clear conditions and rules that are being enforced and being followed by the state, because unfortunately we have a very bad example when the renewables support scheme, the green tariff that was introduced 5 years ago, more than 6 years ago, and allowed to build a lot of renewables during that time. Unfortunately, that led to the situation when the state violated all its promises and didn't pay. That's why that precedent creates a very big doubt that that will not happen again. That's why all future prospects of the renewables, development of renewables, should be based on the keeping the promises, creating the conditions for the investing into Ukraine. The biggest problem right now that renewables have for development of the project is top line, the guarantee of revenue. Why that? Because the market, even for those renewables that operate on the free market, like we do our Tiligul wind farm projects, for example, we don't use support scheme, we do sell electricity in the day-ahead market. So the problem that we have right now is price caps that's still in place. That's why we could not capture the price when it's high. We always take the lower prices. This is a bad thing. And the second is that unfortunately the market is not liquid enough to make sure that the market signals influence the price. Sometimes the behavior of the market participants, big players, and I can remind you that more than 80% of generation right now is concentrated among the state-owned companies, lead to the not correct pricing on the market. And here we need a very strong leadership of regulator in energy sector, and a very institutional professionalism and ability to react on all violations, reacting such behavior. So far, unfortunately, there are some cases when there was not enough attention to the violations from the state sector, and also that should be corrected as soon as possible.
So Mr. Nekrasov also represents a state-owned company, Guaranteed Buyer. Maybe you can also have a brief response to the question on the role of renewables.
Thank you for your question. You know, before the full-scale war, Ukraine's made generation capacities were conventional. As of today, we don't know what Ukraine's economy will look like in the future. What will be the share of heavy industries, agriculture, military, IT services, etc. These factors define volumes and different characteristics of power consumption. We have developed a nuclear power sector in Ukraine. And Global Climate Conference, COP28, recognizes the critical role of nuclear energy. We have a very good potential for gas-fired generation to balance renewables. And electricity storage will be developing in the nearest future. So during the upcoming decades, not only renewables will play a role, but definitely Ukraine has to follow the European track of decarbonization until 2050.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm grateful to both speakers for highlighting the role of the balancing capacities. So we still have a little bit more than 15 minutes, and we'll try to cover as many questions from the audience as possible. I will just read and try to shorten them a little bit. Yeah, one question is on the current damage of internal energy distribution system. The damages of the substations that are situated near nuclear power plants and further damage of the energy grid. So what is your reaction to the statement of the possible nuclear catastrophe? Is there the genuine risk, in your opinion, of causing nuclear accident because of the shelling of the substations that are situated close to the nuclear stations? I hope I got the question right.
So I guess the question, if it's put it in simple words, is if Russia attacks substations of Ukrenergo used to connect nuclear power station to the grid, will there
That's how
be
I understood it, yeah.
will be any catastrophic consequences? So the worst thing that may happen is that in Ukraine will be deficit of generation capacity because substations will not be able to transform electricity, and Energatom will need to decrease the load of thermal power of nuclear power plants. That is would be the worst thing, and then it's task of Ukrenergo, the system operator that runs those substations, to repair them as possible.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think I'll move to another question so we can save some time. Yeah, what is the nature of international collaboration and aid with respect to the current energy crisis in Ukraine? What kind of equipment or technology are partner nations transferring, and whether it has any meaningful impact?
So speaking about the power plants, the main portion of equipment transferred from international partners is old equipment from old thermal power plants that were built in Europe many years ago during the Soviet Union times, and which are closed or are close to being closed because of the ecological reasons. So what we got, thanks to cooperation between Minister of Energy with the ministers of energies of other countries, Poland, Baltic states, Romania, Germany, and others, Bulgaria. And it's pieces of equipment like small one, these connectors, switchers, valves, pumps, and other equipment that were basically dismantled and transferred to Ukraine to detect plants, to central energy plants, to plants, CHPs and thermal power plants in Kharkiv city. So if volume-wise, the amount of this equipment is, I guess, 7% of what we need to repair after the Russian attacks. But again, we appreciate the help. This all help is important, and this is the main kind of type of equipment that was transferred. Speaking about distribution grids, it's again wires, small transformers, other spare parts for works on repairing of the grid. Again, is maybe 5-7% of what was out of what was used to repair the grid infrastructure after the riots.
Which is also maybe mostly the question to Ukrainian Ukraine transmission operator, but also just a question that is very close to that one that I asked previously. What technical assistance programs would be most helpful in the next 6-12 months? In addition to restoring and rebuilding hardware and expanding air defense, whether those technical assistance programs can increase.
I'm not sure I understand the term technical systems.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's no further information from the author of the question. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that further in the question and answer feature. Otherwise, I would move to the next question that I actually addressed directly to Mr. Sakharuk. So first, what are your expectations about the upcoming winter comparing to the last one? And if it's possible to make some forecasts, or does the threat of potential Russian airstrikes make it extremely difficult to predict? And another question to you as well. What are companies' most significant problems when repairing their capacities after airstrike? To partly answer that already. What were the biggest challenges to preparing for this winter after the attacks in spring and summer?
The main challenge was the scale of that after Russian attacks. As I said, we lost, injured, damaged more than almost 90% of our capacity. So that's why the biggest challenge is the number of works that we need to and still need to perform in order to restore 60-70% of our capacity before the winter. Those works required a lot of not only manpower but also the equipment, finance resources, financial resources that we would need to spend. Speaking about manpower, for example, we assembled all possible resources that we have in our company. Miners from our mines, for example, participated in restoration. Workers from the metallurgical plants of Metinvest, which is the sister company of DTEC in the SCM group, also were invited and participated. The technical engineers from regional distribution companies participated in the repair an electrical part of power stations. And of course, the workers or the employees of power stations, they all are in part of the restoration. Even those who, by their job description, are only the shift personnel, basically not repairing one, but they also did whatever they could to restore as quickly as possible. Hundreds of suppliers, contractors were employed. As I said, more than 110 million dollars already spent for the restoration. So this was the big and still the biggest challenge, because we don't repair 100% of capacities, because it's not possible to do such short period of time. Russian attacks will happen. This is no doubt. They will continue trying to destroy the generation capacities, transmission capacities. In the response may be just an efficient work of air defense. They should do whatever they can to intercept ideally all incoming missiles and drones, just to prevent new damage. Otherwise, we will again start doing repairing in order to put to bring back our facilities for online.
There are also some questions concerning the tensions between the government and private sector. I would combine them into one because they mainly, in some extent, repeat each other. Do you think those tensions that I mentioned can affect energy production and especially meeting electricity demand in the near term and over time?
No.
That's a very short answer. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, we don't have that much time, so I'm trying to combine the questions. Yeah. Okay, some of them have already been answered. For example, about the people working in the energy sector by Mr. Sakharuk. Thank you for that. Yes, another question from Marina Barnett. I'm sorry. It is considerably harder to maintain stability and reliability in a power system with large penetration of renewables. It is something that was mentioned, has been mentioned already in this discussion. Do you think there is enough capacity, particularly by the transmission operator, to address that? Of course, Ukrenergo is not there, but still, maybe you can also address this question. And are there any capacity building programs like studies, trainings that would be helpful?
Helpful for what?
Capacity building programs. That was another part of the question. The first part of the question was of the capacity of the transmission operator taking into account large penetration of renewables.
So I guess I can reply it on the second part of the question. As if I understand the question correctly, the question was, do we need additional training to be able to restore damaged capacities?
Yes.
No, we don't need any trainings.
Okay. That was also partly an answer to the question of the heroic job of the workers in Ukrainian energy sector. Another question on renewables, on balcony solar panels that are becoming popular in Germany, and individual households can buy them and install by simply plugging in. A lot of efforts from the German Ministry of Economy and Climate Action in this field. It's considered to be quick, cheap, and uncomplicated. Are they also appearing in Ukraine?
Yes,
Balcony solar panels. How do they contribute to resilience?
They appear in Ukraine, but the efficiency of those balcony panels are not big. They could not substitute the need of flat For example, for the energy supply, if there are rolling blackout, they can only add some energy if there is a stable supply, just to decrease the consumption. But it's impossible to use them to substitute everything needed in the flat if there is no centralized electricity supply.
Thank you so much. I think we'll just address one last question, which is of more of a general character, but of a huge importance. The question is from Kristen Muhani. I apologize if I mispronounce your last name. What is the main ask you have for the US or Congress when it comes to Ukraine energy sector, and how can the US help?
The US already helping a lot, and thanks for that. They do provide money. For example, DTEC got the confirmation for $45 million for purchase of the equipment. The equipment is still being procured by USAID and their subcontractors that basically act on their behalf. Maybe the one kind request is to do this quicker because time doesn't wait, winter doesn't wait. For example, the funds were approved in April, at the beginning of April. Today is middle of October, and agreements for supply of transformers, that was part of the purchase list of the purchase equipment, still not concluded. So it's taking almost 6 months, it's already half a year, to move from the allocation of funds to the concluding of the agreement. Agreements are not there yet. So that means that the actual delivery of equipment will be next year, hopefully before the next winter. Definitely speed is not sufficient if it will continue like that. So I doubt that this help will be used and will help Ukraine to go through the winter. This is definitely not a speed that needed, and the business processes should be revised as quickly as possible to make procurement much quicker, ideally during 1 month, but not 6 months like we have in our case.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sakharuk. On this note, I'm very sorry that we have to finish our event, and a reminder to our audience that we all invite you to visit Kennan Institute's website for information about upcoming events and publication, including the latest analysis from the Focus Ukraine blog. At that very moment, I would like to give just 1 more minute or even less to our speakers for their closing remarks. And I would also like to apologize for not taking all the questions. There were so many of them, and I just had to sort some of them out because they would be maybe actually really good for some other speakers. So I encourage to organize such events also in the future and invite also other actors from Ukrainian energy sector. So Mr. Sakharuk, Mr. Nekrasov, please your closing statements. Thank you so much.
So I will be very quick. Believe into energy professionals, and we will go through the next winter.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wilsat Center and Kennan Institute for the invitation. Hope I was instrumental to your audience. Thank you, Daria, for the perfect moderating. I see here in chat there are a few questions to us, and I will make my best to answer them after the event. Thank you again. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Wilson Center and Kennan Institute. Thank you so much, our dear speakers, and Thank you, audience, for all your very clever and insightful questions. Have a great day. For those of you in Ukraine, please stay safe.
This video was produced by the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. If you'd like to see more, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. There you'll find in-depth discussions and research on important global issues and topics. And thanks for watching.